No, but it doesn't make any difference because nobody changes their opinion on voting anyway. You can ask somebody, who are you going to blame for a shutdown? And they can say the Democrats, the Republicans. Right now they're saying Republicans because Republicans are in charge. But then nobody asks a follow-up question, which is, will it change the way you vote next November? And it never does. Look, this is what's going to happen because it always happens this way. The party, regardless, Democrat, Republican, I'm shooting right down the middle, take all the party labels out of it. Whoever is asking for something extra will lose. They will give up at the end of the day. Sometimes it's Republicans asking for less spending. Sometimes it's Democrats asking for more spending. That side always gives up first. And it's the folks who are saying, look, let's just punt. Let's just spend the same as we did last year. Let's do the clean CR. Now, we all know what that term, we've heard that term now a lot. That's what always happens. And that's what's going to happen here. The Democrats ultimately will give up and a CR will pass. And then they'll continue the discussions about the issues that both the congressmen just raised.
So, Brian, people will look at this and say, this is politics, like it's always win. Why? Because Chuck Schumer in the past had voted for a CR. He took a lot of heat when he voted to block that filibuster, right? When you had the last shutdown, took a lot of heat on it. There is a poll right now that says 60% of Democratic voters say the party is not doing enough to stand up to President Trump. Is that what this is? Is this just an attempt to show we're not giving in? We're fighting back. Yes, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of costs. But hey, optics-wise, we're doing our best to not give in to Republicans. Is that what's going on?
This is more than just optics. Democrats are using what little leverage they have, because they need Democratic votes to get this thing done, to restore ACA subsidies that will mean that Americans don't endure 75 to 100% increases in their health care. I mean, if ever there was a virtuous red line to put in the sand, this is it. And the notion that no Republicans will relent on this issue because, well, frankly, I don't really know why, but I know the lie that has been told by Trump, which is that Democrats want to fund illegal aliens getting health care, when we all know there is not a single cent of ACA subsidies that goes toward undocumented immigrants. So he has no legitimate excuse that he's putting forward here. The only excuse is just a bald-faced lie to be able to make this like a red versus blue thing, when in reality, again, it is a virtuous stand to take to make sure that 20 million Americans don't get health care that's unaffordable.
I hear you. I guess the counter argument to that, Brian, would be, and this is something that's been echoed, are you going to support one initiative or one group at the expense of the other? You talk about health care. This is something Mike Johnson says, well, what about FEMA? What about the CDC that's affected? Why not agree to a continuing resolution for immediate funding? You negotiate Obamacare, the tax credits at a later date. If you think about what the cost is going to be at this point, why not more Democrats sign on to the two that already went across the aisle?
Because they know Republicans won't negotiate those things. This is the same Republican Party that just cut $1 trillion in health care from Americans. Do we really think that these are the people that are going to come down and sit at the negotiating table to make sure that we can restore these ACA subsidies? This is the same Republican Party that just cut Medicaid from 17 million Americans and food assistance to the tune of $350 billion. Those are the people that we're going to trust when they say, don't worry, just sign on to this continuing resolution and we'll definitely get onto the negotiating table to make sure that Americans get health care. These people have shown you who they are. At this point, we have to believe them.
Now, Mick, here's the big issue. Aside from what Brian's talking about when it comes to health care, firing thousands of federal workers during this shutdown. Now, there's the question of, does the administration really need to do this? And also the question, legally, can they do this? Firing thousands of workers during a shutdown. Should the Trump administration do this? Legally, can they do it?
Yeah, well, the answer is this: should is up to them, right? I mean, I think they should do it. I'm sure Brian thinks they shouldn't do it. That's a policy decision they're going to make. Let's talk about the legalities of it.
Well, before I'll allow you to jump into the legality, but why should they do it? Yeah. Why should they do it?
Because the government's too big. It just is. We're $37 trillion in debt, and they see a chance to shrink the size of the federal government. I would take advantage of that, and that's what the Democrats are giving Donald Trump. Look, what have the Democrats complained about for the first 9 months of the Trump administration? Oh, my goodness, Donald Trump is expanding the executive authority. He's a dictator, et cetera, et cetera. They're giving him more authority, and here's why. It's really hard to fire a federal government worker most of the time. It gets a lot easier legally during a shutdown because there's no appropriations. During a government shutdown, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, the role I used to fill, so I know this one, gets to determine who's essential and who's non-essential.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.